Hi there, and welcome to the Mindful Marathon podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Quirk, a run coach and pediatrician. Mindful Marathon is all about helping runners of all types to run their own race. Whether you are a seasoned runner or you're just getting started, I want to let you know that you're welcome here and that you're in the right place. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Mindful Marathon podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me. I'm going to introduce Sarah Skobeloff. She is a private practice registered dietitian specializing in performance and ADHD nutrition. And she is an athlete, and as a provider with ADHD, she nurtures a compassionate, creative, and non-judgmental space for her clients to express their unique challenges. And I am very excited to welcome her to the show today. We have lots to talk about.
Yay, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. When we first connected, I know we chatted about so many different running and nutrition related topics, but maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and
Yeah.
maybe your own journey as an athlete and how you found your way into this space.
Oh my God, that's my favorite question to answer. So I am from the Philadelphia area. I love it here. I've been an athlete my whole life. I rode on the crew team in college. I swam most of my life, but rowing was like the one thing I did, and I was like, oh, I'm really good at this. Um, I know I'm like into art and all these other things, but I did marketing first as my first career, but I always wanted to work in the food space. Little did I know, however, that I would find my way into food, like via, getting laid off during the pandemic and just not feeling as fulfilled by what I was doing. Like many of the people, millennials, getting caught up in diet culture and learning about the paleos and Whole30s. And then I stumbled upon a bunch of dietitians who are also food bloggers. And I started learning the science behind, I always use the example of like the differences between maple sugar, maple syrup, and white sugar, and realizing that they're really pretty much the same. And that was honestly one of like the tipping points. So talked to a bunch of registered dietitians. And I was like, all right, let's do this. So in 2021, I took my first prereq because you don't need biochem as a marketing person. And then went back to school, got my master's at Drexel, and then I did a dietetic internship. And for those who don't know, it's kind of like a residency style program, supervised practice for a year down at Virginia Commonwealth University Hospital Systems. And then I moved back to Philadelphia in December and licensed in January. So it's been an amazing ride, tons of ADHD clients, a lot of performance nutrition clients, and having the time of my life. It's very, very rewarding to help and see people succeed.
Yeah, and it's awesome. You know that I love what you do and I love all of the messages that you have. So we'll get into that. But
Yeah.
I think, there's lots of different places we could start in terms of how to fuel ourselves as runners. But we wanted to make sure we spoke about a couple of things that we often see in the news and on social media and that we are just surrounded by all the time. And a lot of it is, myths that we want to debunk about diet culture.
Yes. Oh,
So, yeah. So maybe by way of that, um, I don't know, should we start with protein? We could start there, I
yeah. Let's start
suppose.
with protein.
We'll start with protein. So I have several runners who are training for marathons this fall. And so a big topic for us in our coaching calls is all about fueling and getting in enough carbs and carb loading and all of those things. But I also feel like protein is like having this moment in the world.
Yes.
Can you speak to us about really like what we need as endurance athletes and the
Yeah.
importance of carbs, and then also we'll talk about protein and what we need and maybe what we don't.
Yeah. Everything's proteinified, and I think it definitely has this time and place. Like Starbucks just came out with like the protein latte, which I think is just ultra purified, basically Fairlife milk. that they're using, which is fine. I think, when you need to use those things, like it's truly a great tool. It can be really hard to meet your protein needs. It can be very expensive. But protein, talk about the three R's of recovery, like refuel, repair, and rehydrate. And repair is where the protein comes in, but refuel is where carbs come in. So people have this kind of myth that they need more protein than carbs, post run or just in general, your macro splits. But that's not the truth. Especially as athletes and runners, your body's preferred energy source is carbohydrates. So 50% of your day of your daily intake could just be carbohydrates. Some people kind of have that flip-flops and will do like 50% protein. Um, but your body cannot really use that for energy. It can, but it's a very expensive process. And that is why you feel fatigued and hit the wall and things like that. But I mean, protein is very important. You got to rebuild your muscles, but it is not what gives you that energy to run.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people struggle with this because I feel like the message out there is that, too many carbs and it's going to lead to weight gain. And people are like, well, I'm running, I'm exercising, and maybe a secondary goal or a primary goal for people might be weight loss. And so sometimes it feels like I'm, climbing uphill with this battle of getting in enough carbs and not worrying about the number on the scale.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, look, we grew up in a society that, glorifies and applauses weight loss. But if you're someone who's training for a marathon, ultra marathon, 10K, whatever it is, you cannot have two goals at the same time. And I very rarely have like hard lines. You cannot want to achieve weight loss and train at your max while undercutting your calories. A lot of people gain weight during marathon training. I had a client who, gained that 5-ish pounds and, she felt uncomfortable. And I was like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just kind of how it can go for a lot of people. Now, look, might you see like weight neutrality? Absolutely. But when we cut calories in such an intense period of training for like 6 months at a time, that's how you get stress fractures. That's why you probably might not sleep. Maybe you're super tired, you're not recovering, and you dread every single workout because you just feel kind of like trash.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, I always say that you can't really do both at the same time when you're training for half marathons, 10Ks, and things like that, or
Yep.
ultras.
I would agree. And I've had, some calls with new athletes, like a new athlete call, where, one of the questions that I ask when people schedule the call is like, do you have a race goal in mind? Or like, what is your primary goal in the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever it is? And if the goal is weight loss, like that may be a separate training cycle in and of itself. Like, there's a
Exactly.
time to focus on that. But if you tell me, like, hey, I want to run this marathon, the goals of weight loss and running the marathon don't necessarily go together. So we talk through that, like, what there's a season of life for everything, and
Exactly.
you have to you have to be able to do it in a way that sustains you for the long haul and, like you said, avoids injury.
Exactly. And then like, look, if you want to work on body recomp after, that's the best time to do it the off season,
Yes.
but not mid training. Again, keeps you safe, and then you're not sidelined, with an injury, and then takes a whole year to repair, and then you're really then, not able to do the sport that you love.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, my primary goal as a run coach is really to bring more people to the sport and then keep people in the sport and enjoying the sport. For a
Exactly.
long time. And so I mean, people who know me, I'm very injury averse. I think most people are, but that's
Yeah.
really always a primary goal. And we need to fuel appropriately to prevent that.
Yes. Absolutely. Like people always say like they hit the wall, their legs feel like bricks, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's all fueling for you.
Yeah, that's all carbs. Yep.
Exactly.
What about, so another, I don't know, I don't know if I should call it a myth, but what about like running fasted? So people ask me about this, especially if they are an early morning runner, which I am also. Like, does it depend how far I'm going, how long I'm out there? Should I
Yeah.
eat something before I go out there? Does it matter? All of
Yeah.
those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically we say, you can do a workout fasted if it's like less than about 30-ish minutes. Um, but even if your workout is 30 minutes, you will benefit from having carbs available. Um, But like if you're going to be hitting that 45 minutes to an hour, like you really should be eating. You just can't rely on what your glycogen stores are. You don't know. Like maybe you didn't have as many carbs the day before as you wanted, or like should have had. So there is this myth around like fasted cardio typically comes out of the diet lens of I will burn fat.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between like fat burning like fat for energy and like losing fat, like in the weight loss sense. And like, yes, you might be burning fat for fuel, but that's not minimizing your fat stores. Like
Mhm.
those are two separate things. So if you're doing fasted cardio or any workout out of the hopes of torching fat, that's not what you're doing. Yes, you might be burning fat for fuel because that's like the second, preferred energy source, second to carbs, but like you are not losing fat from your body.
Mhm.
Um, so, we definitely want you eating before. If you're a really early riser and you only have 15 minutes, having a quick snack, or if you have a sensitive GI tract, having some Gatorade or a gel, you can make it really simple. Pretzels, handful of like raisins or something like that. You don't want a lot. You only have like 15 to 30 minutes to get out there. So you're going to look for something smaller. So we still prefer you to work out even at 30 minutes with carbs, but you don't have to, but you will benefit from it.
Yeah. I'll throw out there what has worked for me is graham crackers. Like
Yeah.
for a while, for all of the like medical students and my medical people out there, like I swore off graham crackers for a long time because that is what I ate as a snack like on call all the time. And I was
Oh
like
my
sick of
goodness.
them for like years. And so recently, like in my 40s, I've come back to embrace the graham cracker. But there
Embrace, embrace
just a
the graham
sheet or two of
cracker.
graham crackers. It's easy. I can even have it. Sometimes I'll have like half a cup of coffee before I go out and run, so I'll have graham crackers with the coffee.
Yeah. I mean, look, people can train their GI tract. I tell people all the time, like your stomach is a muscle. Like you can train it, small steps. So it's my example is always take just a bite of banana, literally just a bite. And you could do it by exact amount of grams of carbs, but I think it's just easy to be like, take a bite or two of banana, go out, do that for a couple of runs,
Yes.
then, increase it slowly. And if you don't like bananas, you can do half of a graham cracker, maybe just one of the fours.
Hmm.
So you can train your stomach. It's not like an all or nothing, like, oh, my GI tract, I can never do it ever again. It's a
Yeah.
muscle. You got to train it.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm probably not gonna have like eggs and pancakes before I go out, but maybe some
Yeah,
people do. But
exactly. Totally
something small.
depends. Exactly. Especially when you only have that 15 to 30 minutes. But if you have more time, you definitely can get away with a bit more, and you should. But maybe pancake and eggs right before you go out might be a little rough for some of us, especially me.
Same. I think it's hard too. One of the things that we always look at with races, I mean, most races are happening in the morning. And so it's like, in a way, when you're training this way, you're training your body, your mind, your gut, all of those things, and your race is probably in the morning. But there are some races that are in the evening, and that presents like
Um,
a different challenge. And so that's like something, if that's a specific thing, it's rare, but it happens. We
yeah.
definitely have to train the gut that way because, you can't not eat all day, obviously.
Right. And you gotta be very mindful of like the fiber content and the fat content because those are just they're harder for your body to digest. And like
Mhm.
that's, kind of their point in life, as I like to say. But yeah, there's definitely impact, people's day like intake during the day. They just have to be more mindful.
Yeah, yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. And that's the thing too. I think an important lesson for me was that maybe something that upset my stomach or I like a banana is a great example. Like I remember trying to take a banana before a long run like the first time and I eat bananas all the time and have no problem, but like having that right before I went out was not a great idea that day, but I've trained myself that I can.
Exactly. Your body, the blood flow moves different places and it just kind of needs to learn what
So
what needs to be done in order
so
to help things
interesting.
digest and to not get, cramps or, you know, vomit or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Um, One of the other, I don't know if it's a myth or we'll just talk about it, but
Yeah.
a lot of people have trouble. So when we talk about different forms of carbs for like fuel source, I definitely have a lot of runners who like gels and go right for that because it's an easy and like quick way to get the carbs in, especially like mid-run on a long run.
Yeah.
A lot of people, other runners tell me like, well, I don't love that idea of like sort of like a packaged thing. It feels better to them to have like whole foods of some sort. Like they want to have pretzels or yeah, peanut butter or something like that that they take with them. Do you have any recommendations on that, or is it sort of like what works for you and go with it?
Yeah, so it kind of answers in the lens again of like, is it the hesitance? Is it are you hesitant because you don't want to use something that is processed, right? And there's a big thing going around right now in the sports community. It are the nerd clusters. They're having a moment because they have a lot of bang for their like sugar buck, right? Well, it's a great source, and same with Rice Krispies treats a professional cyclist was using them. Those are all ultra processed foods. And there's a lot of messaging out there, especially right now, that these things are bad and they can make us gain weight or they're linked to certain health outcomes. Yes, they might be in isolation, but you are an athlete. And in order to eat as much as you need to, you have to rely on, don't have to, but will likely succeed when you do rely on those processed foods. However, there are a lot of people who some of the gels, like they try them after, people with IBS or other like type of GI conditions, where it can take, some trial and error. And gels, let's just be honest, they are cost prohibitive. What is it,
Yeah,
like $2 or so for a Huma and maybe like 250 for Martins?
yeah,
Like they're not
they're not
cheap.
cheap.
So, using the nerds clusters, that's fine. I would say I don't know if it's less processed than a Huma, but it feels like I don't know, more food-esque. But you can use pretzels, gummies, gushers. I
Gummy
actually saw a
bears.
post, yeah, gu gummy bears. I saw a post where someone had a potato without the skin on. It was eating out of the bag. But you do need to do a bit more work in terms of calculations. And to be honest, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to weigh out my pretzels. I just want to take the Huma, which is what I personally like, and be gone. But again, if that's not for you, you can totally use whole food sources, but not, I hope it's not coming from a lens of being afraid of using processed packaged foods.
Yeah, agree. I've also used Fig Newtons in the past. They're
Yes.
quite good. People have used like Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like my gel of choice. I like Morton's, but yes, a little cost prohibitive. The nice thing about them is that you technically don't have to take them with water.
So
It's like a
true.
hydrogel, and so anyway, and it sits very well. Like, I guess I
Yeah.
do have a sensitive stomach, and for whatever reason, those sit fine, and I try not to
Yeah.
rock the boat. But Fig Newtons and graham crackers, you can even do it with liquid. Like you can do
Yeah.
Gatorade and things like that, but you have to, like you were saying, be mindful of the carb calculation, and like that's
Yeah.
something that with each of my runners, we work out like a personal
Yeah.
fuel plan for them, and based on what they want to try to use, we just calculate it. But a gel will
Exactly.
usually have like 20 to 25-ish grams of carbs
Hmm.
in one, and so it's just quicker and easier to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also Tailwind, which I've only had it once, but I know one of my clients just ran the Sydney Marathon. And so she used Tailwind
Mhm.
as her source of carbs along with Martins. So,
Yeah.
there's tons of option out there, especially when you have the camelback style vest on. Like you can do a lot, get a lot of energy in there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the point here is that there are lots of options and you have to figure out what works for you, but it's not something that we can ignore, and it's not something you want to leave up to chance either. So
No.
you have to practice with whatever it is you're going to use. And it doesn't matter if you are, a long distance runner, definitely. If you're a shorter distance runner, we still need to think about these things. Even if you don't need to necessarily fuel within the run, if you're not going to be running for very long periods of time, but we need to think about it around the run.
Exactly. I even had a client who was running the Atlantic City Marathon.
Yeah.
And on the race course was Gatorade Endurance, and I had some Gatorade Endurance, so I just like dropped it off at her work for her. So it's like, try to practice with what's ever going to be on the course. You just don't want to
Hmm.
be surprised and have to use the bathroom like mid-race.
Yeah, a great point. You never, the adage is like nothing new on race day.
Yes.
That would be, like don't run in a new pair of sneakers, and also maybe not the time to try a new fuel on course, even if it's offered for free. But if you have not tried it before,
Yes, please don't try new things. Like you don't know, especially if it's hot out, you really have to just be careful. No one likes surprises, and you've been training for months and months, and for that small thing to make such a big impact can kind of feel defeating. Especially again, you put a lot of money and time into this, so
Mhm.
no surprises.
Yeah. I definitely encourage people to check out if they're signed up for a race, like we dive into the race website, see where the aid stops are and like what will be at them, and ideally,
Yeah.
practice with that if you want to use the stuff on course.
Exactly. And it's like I say like use it like even running Broad Street, I think they just use Gatorade Endurance, but it's like filling up my own hand water bottles. So
Yeah.
I didn't have to rely on the fueling stations.
Yeah.
But it was really nice. I got a cup and like opened up my lid and then refilled it and it was great. So it's having your own plus. But I would also say like don't just rely on what's on the course. You should always
Mhm.
also have your own too.
Yeah. I feel like if my ultra runner friends are listening to this, they're probably chuckling because they eat like pizza
Oh
and
yeah.
like, French fries. I don't know, but they they when they describe like the tent that's, every whatever it is, 10 miles or something, they come, like a loop twice and
Yeah.
come back to the tent and you could have somebody like make you pancakes if you wanted.
Amazing. Pancakes are pretty awesome because they're mostly just carbs.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not really any like butter or oils going, maybe a little bit, and you're
Yeah.
getting a little protein from the flour. So pancakes and waffles are great. I tell people to have them pre-workout all the time.
Yeah.
They're less likely to be whole grain, which is, fiber rich. So maybe not the best pre-run. So I say like pancakes and waffles are awesome choices.
Yeah, yeah, they are. And yeah, I always love listening to I have never done an ultra myself, but yeah, these 50 milers, 100K, 100 miler, like just and the amount of carbs that need to be
Yes.
taken and the food that is eaten, it's always remarkable.
Their stomachs are steel.
Yes, they're amazing.
Stomachs of steel.
Okay, well, what have we left out? What should we include that we left out?
I would probably say um, we could either like talk about, how to meal plan for like your really busy days or how to know if you're under fueling.
Oh, yes.
Um, okay,
We could do
so
both. We could
all right, wherever you want to start, I'm cool.
How about, okay, let's talk about meal planning for busy people because
Yeah,
definitely I think all of us are probably that person and some
yeah,
some weeks are harder than others, but just in juggling all of the things, what have you found to be helpful for your athletes who lead very busy lives?
yeah. Planning, planning. You have to do it. That doesn't mean you need to spend 5 hours on a Sunday after you've maybe done your long run that morning or on Saturday. It doesn't mean you need to spend 5 hours standing. Um, but you do need to prepare, your carbs, your proteins, and, some type of, color that be vegetables and or fruit. In our practice, we use this method called the 3 by 3 by 3 method.
Okay.
Three starch sources, so that would be potatoes, rice, a wrap. And then three protein sources. That could be Greek yogurt, tuna, maybe chicken. And then, three vegetables or colors, any, fruits that you want to include. And so basically that way during the week you can mix and match them. So, maybe so just during the middle of the week, you only need to prep one extra thing or two extra things, but at least you have your bases.
Mhm.
Because you cannot get in enough carbohydrates if you're just leaving it to chance.
Yeah.
You need so many carbs, you need more fuel. You in the moment you're more likely to underfuel. So going in every week with a loose meal plan is great. Leading also into some of like the partially prepared foods, the minute rice, the frozen vegetables. There's even like minute pasta now.
Mhm.
There are some awesome like bases for food I've seen at Aldi, but not being afraid of some of the packaged foods, because again, that is going to help you succeed in the moments when food planning does not happen.
Yes.
And also, of course, like working with a registered dietitian, truly, we can help you do all that. Like, don't do it on your own. It is very overwhelming. We can help with your carbs, protein, and all of that, and like figuring out a plan for you. But truly, the base of the 3 by 3 by 3 method at a minimum is really going to be foundational and helping you succeed in the long run. No
Yeah.
pun intended.
Puns are very welcome here, as you know. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that.
Uh,
Accidental.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like we do a fair amount of meal planning here, but things tend to drop off by like Thursday.
Always.
Like Saturday, Sunday, we're like planning. I belong to a CSA, a shout out to our farmer, in Lancaster County, PA, but I pick up vegetables and some fruits every Tuesday, and he sends the email on Friday what you're going to get Tuesday. So you can be like, okay, I'm getting, XYZ and planning around that. But then usually we have like eaten through the stuff by like Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so Thursday and Friday are always like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, so usually that happens, it happens with me, happens with my clients. I usually say on like Wednesday or Tuesday, make double of whatever. So maybe, again, when you redo the 3 by 3 by 3 method, it's not supposed to make it through the entire week, but it is supposed to make some of those moments a lot easier. But I will tell clients, like, if you're making pasta tonight for dinner, like maybe you didn't prep at the beginning of the week, make double portion. You'll
Yeah.
have for the next day. If you're roasting vegetables, cut them all up, put them in the oven. Or maybe when you're making dinner that night, maybe you are making food for your other 2 days.
Hmm.
And do you have the backup foods? Do you have the cans of beans,
Yeah.
the pastas, the freezer veg, and things like
Rice.
that? Yeah,
Hmm.
rice, exactly, to
Hmm.
like bridge you
Yes.
for those days. But you can, just preparing a batch of rice while you're doing your chores at night isn't something that's going to hold you back in terms of like getting things done, but it could hold you back in terms of succeeding and running and in your workouts if you don't have the carbs ready for Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. Agreed. And I would say like when both Tony and I were training for the half Ironman this summer, like our volume of intake went way up, like toward the peak of that training. So what I thought would cover us and we would have leftovers, we did not. So keep that in mind
Exactly.
also. If you're training for, endurance stuff, as you get toward that peak of training, the volume of what you eat is going to go up, and that is good. But you have to
Yes.
plan and double your batch.
Double your batch, and then if you want extras, it's like quadrupling at that point. So
Yes.
be
Yes.
ready. Be ready.
Yes, be ready. Okay, now we talked all a lot about, preparing and like eating all of this wonderful food and how it helps us support our athletic performance. What are some signs that we might be underfueled and we need to take another look at all of that?
Yeah. So first, like from coming from like a female lens here, as an athlete myself, typically being told that losing your period, it's normal. But truly, that is one of the biggest alarms that you are not, for those who are menstruating, that you are something is going on. It could be due to fueling, especially if you've had a predictable cycle beforehand. Your body's just saying like, hey, we don't have enough resources here to allow you to menstruate. So we're going to take a pause and kind of protect the other processes in our body. So that is one sign. I tell people after their long run or any run, if you feel that hangover, I call it, and you cannot do anything the rest of the day, you're bedridden, you are under fueling. So that's like one of the biggest changes I see in a lot of my clients. And I'll ask them like, how was your post long run on the weekend? They're like, I was fine. I relaxed a little bit and then I could go about my day, hang out with friends and do everything else. So do you feel spent and absolutely like energy wasted after your long runs and workouts in general? Do
Mhm.
you have trouble sleeping? At night, your body is doing a lot to repair your body, and restless sleep is a major sign. In addition to waking up extremely hungry or hungry in the middle of the night, that could be that you're not eating enough during the day, or you need to eat a little bit closer to bedtime because your body's doing a lot of repair.
Yeah.
Brain fog, injury, your legs hitting the walls. I talked about the classic sign of, wow, my legs feel like bricks today. Maybe you needed a rest day, but it's likely maybe you need some carbs, and going in fasted yesterday
Mhm.
morning,
Yeah.
already puts you in a deficit. So that's why we say, like, you can do fasted runs, but now you're putting yourself in a deficit because, like, you've dug a hole, and now you gotta fill the hole and then some.
Hmm.
So those are the major ones. Also mood changes, carbs, they fuel your brain. It is your brain's preferred energy source. So if you feel like your emotions are like a little unstable, you feel more irritable, think of it with hangry,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
can't make decisions, slower to think and react to things. Those are all signs of underfueling.
Yeah. I think those first two, I mean, those were all amazing, but you hit the nail on the head. The key for me is usually people telling me after the long run, they're like totally spent.
Yeah. And you should be able to recover. Like, yeah, you're going to be tired after 20 miles, but if you have something to go to later that evening, you shouldn't feel like you can't do it. And I'm like, are you getting headaches all the time? Are you not
Mhm.
getting enough electrolytes? But truly, you should be able to recover and feel okay and continue on with your day.
Yeah.
And also think about fueling's an everyday, and hydration is an everyday activity. You can't just think about the day before long run. Um, this is it's compounding. So
Mhm.
just because you're having an off day mid-marathon doesn't mean you can cut your carbs. Your body's doing the most on rest days. And that's what allows you to succeed in the long run and minimize some of those underfueling situations.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that you said that. But yeah, I feel like the rest day, we don't talk about that enough. We don't talk about rest and recovery enough, but you still have to keep, even though, you're not, maybe you're not running that day, but yeah, you still need the carbs that day.
Yeah. And, maybe you can have a bit more fiber on that day or whatever it may be. But yeah, rest days are kind of like villainized. They're like, oh, you can't have a
Yes.
rest day. They're bad. But your body does the most on rest days. And then you might have like a workout plan, but maybe your body's telling you something else. And you just kind of need to take that day to refuel, reset, and, gear up for the next day.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you dropped lots of gold for all of us, so thank you.
Yes, you're so welcome.
Yes. Tell everybody how they can work with you and where they can
Yeah.
find you and all of the wonderful things you're doing.
Yes, also, yes. So there's a few ways you can work with me. As Michelle said, I'm in private practice. You can work with me one-on-one. I work for a private practice called Maria Terry Nutrition and Wellness. And you can go on your website one-on-one and put in a form to work with me. So that's the easiest way. Or you can reach out to me on Instagram at Simmer with Sarah, Sarah with an H. And then every couple months, I teach a community class under Maria's practice. So be on the lookout for those. But those are also open to the public, regardless if I'm teaching or not.
Fabulous. And I will leave those links in the show notes so no one has to remember. They can just go click the show
Yeah.
notes, okay?
Yes, it's going to be a great time.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you next week.
Thank you so much for having me. Can't wait to meet everyone in this community.
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with a friend. And if you have a moment, please rate and review the podcast so that we can reach and encourage others to tie on their sneakers and join us out there on a run. See you next time.